Today we are going to study the Lyapunov stability analysis from discrete time control system written by Ogata. Before that we have used two different methods. One was the Routh criterion table, another one was the Jury stability method. They were all used to judge the stability of a system for continuous, as well as the other one was for the discrete time control system. One of the drawbacks using that analysis is that they were confined to only linear time invariant systems. However, this Lyapunov stability analysis method is used for both the analyzing of the linear as well as non-linear time invariant systems. Now, there are two different methods that are being used by the Lyapunov stability analysis. The first method requires the differential or the difference equation for analysis. The second method does not require such differential or the difference equation for analysis. Therefore, it is mostly preferred. Due to this reason, we will try to study the second method during our analysis. Now we all know that all the vibratory systems are stable if the energy being provided to the system during the excitation phase decreases to zero with respect to time when they are actually reaching the equilibrium state. Now, in generalized form, if the system is asymptotically stable, that means that all the eigenvalues of that system matrix A have the negative real part. This means that the equilibrium state at the origin is asymptotically stable. Now let us consider the figure in which we are actually realizing the asymptotically stable of the. Now if you realize that in this figure the system is said to be asymptotically stable because with respect to the time when it was excited by some given input that is reaching toward the zero. However, in the figure B, you can easily realize that the system is asymptotically unstable because the system output is going out of bound, which was supposed to reach zero with respect to time. Now, in order to understand the Lyapunov theory, he presented a function called a Lyapunov function, in which he relate the differential equation in the form of a depending function f of x of t, which is where x of t is a state variable, and in upcoming this lecture we will be realizing this x of t to be a state vector as well. And at the equilibrium state, the state will be considered x of e. Now there are three properties that a Lyapunov function should obey. First of all, the function, let's say f of x of t, is continuous. Now that means that at the given differential equation, x dot of t is equal to fx of t is continuous, and at equilibrium x of e will be equal to 0. Secondly, the function f of x of t has a unique minimum with respect to all the other points in some neighborhood of the equilibrium of interest. And thirdly, along any trajectory of the system, of the value of f of x of t does not increase from that function. Now this means that if x of t is a trajectory with f of x of t, it will be its function along the trajectory. Now then the function f of x of t must not increase according to this statement. That means that f of x of t should be less than 0. Now suppose that we have a pendulum and someone exert a force and it causes to and fro motion. Now if it is maintaining the constant amplitude, that means the system is stable with respect to its equilibrium state, and this is the you can say the trajectory is just like the figure number A. Now with respect to time, if I excite the pendulum with the input force and I left it free, and with respect to time the energy amplitude is decaying and the pendulum is coming toward the rest position, that means it is asymptotically stable, and because it is reaching toward its equilibrium position once again, which was the initial condition initially as it was in the rest. And if you look at the third picture, you will realize that if I apply the force towards the pendulum and it goes out of the bound, means it become unstable. Now here the Lyapunov function is being defined in the form of positive definiteness of a scalar function. The function f of x of t is positive definite in any region S with respect to its equilibrium state, that was x of e, if f of x of t is continuous and it is greater than 0 for all the values of S that are being defined in that region, and where x is not equal to that equilibrium state. And lastly, f of 0 will be equal to 0, which is the overall definition of positive definiteness of the scalar function. Suppose that I define a function with two state variables, x of 1 and x of 2, that is equal to 2x1 square plus 3x2 square, and I am writing it in the form of the matrices x of 1, x of 2 with a square matrix 2 0 0 3 and a column matrix x1 and x2, which are actually depicting in the form of the x of t, which is a transpose matrix, p is the scalar matrix, and x is the simply the state vector. It is positive definite function if it is greater than 0, and since you can realize that the elements in the P matrix are actually the greater than 0. There is another method to check whether this matrix is positive definite or not. It's very simple. If I take the determinant of this term, it's actually 2, which is actually greater than 0, and similarly if I take the determinant of this whole matrix over here, it will give me 6. 2 multiply 3 minus 0 multiply 0, that is 6, which is once again greater than 0, so it's confirmed that it's a positive definite scalar function. Alright, next we have is a positive semi-definite function. The function f of x of t is a positive semi-definite in the region S with respect to that equilibrium state x of e if f of x of t is continuous and fx of e is equal to 0. And the second thing is f of x should be greater than 0 for all the values of x in that region. Now it means that first thing, that the function should be positive definite, and secondly, at the equilibrium state f of x of e should be equal to 0. Now consider this function v x of 1 and x of 2 with two state variable, that's equal to x1 of square. So I am writing it once again in the form of x of transpose p and x, so where my p matrix is 1 0 0 and 0. Now if I take once again the test of the positive definiteness, it will be very simple. One thing is one determinant of the first element, which is 1, it's actually greater than 0. Now the determinant of the whole matrix, which will be 0. So the answer is greater than equal to 0 once we have justified the two conditions. So it means that this system is positive semi-definite. Now negative semi-definite of a scalar function. The function f of x is said to be negative semi-definite scalar function if minus of the f of x is positive semi-definite. Now you have been given the two examples above. If you multiply the function with negative sign, if it give you the positive semi-definite, now that means that your given function is actually negative semi-definite function. Now in the last condition, indefiniteness of the scalar function, if in a region it assumes both positive as well as in negative values, now such function is termed as the indefinite of the scalar function. Okay, if we are able to write our function in the form of x transpose p and x, where p is actually equal to the transpose of the p matrix, it's actually the quadratic form of the given function where p is not symmetric and need to be symmetrized. Now if you want to make the symmetrize of this given p matrix, we need to perform certain steps. Okay, before moving that side, let's just observe that the transposition of a scalar is actually equal to itself. For example, if x transpose p of x is being transposed as a whole, it will be actually equal to the once again the form of its original one. How this is actually been seen over here, x transpose p transpose of x, which is equal to once again the x transpose p of x. Now let's do the symmetrizing of that quadratic form. Since x of transpose and p of x is, we can also write it as half of the x transpose px plus half of the x transpose p of x, because if we take the sum of it will be once again be equal to x transpose p of x. So since these terms are representing the vector form, if we take the x transpose from this side, from our left side, it will be taken common as x transpose, and similarly we can also take x state vector as a common from the right direction. Now what we actually left behind is p plus p transpose divided by 2. Okay, now for the symmetrical analysis, if we take the transpose of this term, we should be left once again with the original term, which is being inside p plus p transpose divided by 2, because we have studied the property above that the transpose of that quadratic form will give you once again the original quadratic form. So this is how we actually symmetrize our quadratic form. You can also apply the test for the positive and positive semi-definiteness of the quadratic form, which is defined by the v is equal to x transpose p of x if the eigenvalues of the p matrix are all actually positive. Similarly, if the given function, that is the given quadratic form v is equal to x transpose p of x, is positive semi-definite if and only if all the eigenvalues of the p matrix are non-negative. The main difference between these 2 points is that in this condition the 0 is excluded. Okay, however in the second condition, in the positive semi-definite, the non-negative will consider all the positive values as well as the 0 as well. Now similarly, the negative definite of the quadratic form is a negative definite if and only if the function is multiplied by this negative number is once again obtained as the positive definite is in the form of x transpose into minus p of x. If you are able to write this form, then it means that your given quadratic form is negative definite. So this is the end of today's lecture. I hope that you are able to understand the concept of the Lyapunov stability, and you will be able to apply these concepts to analyze the given state equation, and will be able to define the stability conditions using this basic knowledge. Now if you are not able to understand, do comment and do ask me the question with the help of that email address being mentioned in that video as well. So I will be able and ready to answer your questions. So thank you very much.